Welcome to the Tuesday, April 22nd meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. Happy Earth Day. Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Director Chan?
Present.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Director Katz?
Here.
Director Lewis?
Here.
Director Odie?
Here.
Director Smith?
Present.
President Young?
I am here. Okay, public comment. Hi, everybody. Since I know most of you also have to get back to work today, and because we have a very busy agenda for our closed session meeting that relates to all of you, I am going to need to limit the time for public comment to 2 minutes. I am asking, I'm sorry, we have 40 speakers at this point. And I would further ask that if you have something to say that is echoing somebody that has spoken before, please know that we will count that and ask that you try to limit it even further, because we will be here for 90 minutes if we kept to the 3-minute normal time. So I'm limiting it to 2 minutes. I've never done that before. We will start. And I see a lot of unhappy faces about that, and I'm sorry, but please try to be succinct and make your comments as clear and compelling as you possibly can with the time that you have, okay? All right, first up, Jeremy Williams. And then after that, I have Perry Foreman and Brian Wolverton. So please be prepared to come up.
Okay, I'll be fast. Good morning, President Young, board members, General Manager Chan. I'm Jeremy Williams, the General Pipe Supervisor of Pipeline Crew 7. Members of our classification have returned to update the board on the progress made since making the board aware of the lack of timeliness and transparency in our equity process. At the negotiation table on the Wednesday after the last board meeting, our Local 21 negotiating team was presented with a GPS 2025 equity analysis, which included the recommendation by HR to deny our equity adjustment. We are concerned that it is nearly identical to the 2021 version of this report, except for the correction of the supervisory structure in the job family section and the accidental inclusion of information pertaining to water treatment supervisor classification. We have included both documents in the packet we provided for your reference. Our concern, as we communicated in our EAP presentation, is that this document continues to be inaccurate and does not contain any equity analysis. As you can see on the second page of the 2021 version, this format was originally an equity cost estimate for Local 444 employees. It inexplicably uses a non-supervisory benchmark for salary comparison and contains no equity analysis of GPS classification. It is a misrepresentation on the part of District HR to claim their recommendation is based on an equity analysis when no such analysis exists. HR responded to our RFI that Lori Warden is the sole author of this document. Of note, Lori Warden is the same employee who was identified as the author of the contested base salary survey by the district, though she has stated she did not perform that work or produce that survey. After being provided the equity analysis, our Local 21 team was informed by Cindy Sharon that it wasn't a final decision, and HR planned to discuss what we shared with the board at the previous meeting. We have not received an updated decision, but the information that was shared with the board was already known to HR management. We are again asking the board's intervention in the lack of transparency and timeliness on the part of District HR. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Perfect. That's 2 minutes. Okay, Perry Foreman, thank you.
Good morning, President Young, members of the board, and General Manager Chan. I am Perry Foreman, the General Pipe Supervisor for PL10. After members of our classification shared our concerns with what appears to be the intentional misrepresentation of the market labor rate on the existing GPS base salary survey and asked for your assistance in resolving this issue, we received the following response from HR. Quote, "Thank you for this feedback. These notes are helpful and will be saved to our file for future conversations on the topic of classification benchmark matches. If we decide to update the salary survey, we will consider this input when reviewing potential classification matches to our GPS benchmark class," end quote. We have recently been made aware that there is only one employee in classification and recruitment performing this work, which means the same employee that denied authorship of this base salary survey, but was identified as the author by the district, is responsible for admitting their own errors or wrongdoing and correcting those mistakes. This is an obvious conflict of interest, and we are asking the board to resolve it. We were induced to sign the previous contract by explicit promise that the district would perform an equity analysis and engage in equity adjustment negotiations in good faith after it was ratified. The district has not fulfilled their promise. No equity analysis has been performed, and they are refusing to correct or update a significantly flawed base salary survey. The lack of accountability that persists in district HR is extremely concerning.
Thank you. A great example also of getting your point across in well less than 2 minutes. Thank you. Brian Wolverton.
Good morning, President Young, board members, General Manager Chan. My name is Brian Wolverton. I'm the Pipeline Supervisor for Pipeline Crew 1. I'm here to give you, the board, a brief overview of the classifications we're asking to be excluded from the base salary survey. To start, the classifications that were included from Napa and Sonoma are inactive classifications and not equitable comparisons. Additionally, the distribution system field supervisor at the city of Daly City is a poor match for the duties and scope of work, but is also a non-exempt, unrepresented classification with no active bargaining agreement with their district. This is not an equitable comparison for the GPS classification. Next, the supervisor of facility maintenance and special projects at Marin Municipal Water District is in facility maintenance and is a poor match for the duties of a GPS as they do not engage in or supervise distribution infrastructure renewal. We wanted to verify that these duties were not covered by the special projects component of the classification, but were informed that special projects include tasks like tank roof repairs, removing logs and fallen trees from dam spillways. Next is the O&M supervisor at the Contra Costa Water District is a more complicated match. We attempted to engage in a productive, good faith conversation about it with HR. As we were unable to do so, we're asking for this classification be excluded as an undesirable match. Only one member of this classification supervises a crew that engages in any degree of infrastructural renewal. As their district outsources large-scale infrastructural renewal projects to third-party contractors, a significant portion of their work is supervising this third-party work, which is not a match for the scope of supervisory work performed by the general pipe supervisors. HR has communicated historic matches are used in determination of future matches, and as this is the only survey that exists in our classification, we are concerned that delaying these corrections until HR decides they will like to review it will only perpetuate the lack of accountability we have experienced during this current and previous negotiation periods. We're asking the board to make a decision to exclude these poorly matched classifications from the GPS salary survey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Brett Bergmark? Good, you knew you were up. Next up after that, I have Carlton Studman and Ryan Ferner. Thank you.
Good morning, President Young, board members, General Manager Clifford Chan. My name is Brett Bergmark. I'm the General Pipe Supervisor for PL3. There's one classification on the survey, on the base salary survey, we strongly feel needs to be more senior position. I'm going to go over those details. The San Francisco Utility Plumber Supervisor 1 was the classification included by HR. Their position was San Francisco identifies this as a first-line supervisory position. But the supervisory structure for San Francisco Water is phrased differently than East Bay MUD. The Supervisor 2 classification is a significantly closer match. We have included the comparison of their duties for your reference. Utility Plumber Supervisor 1 is essentially a match for our foreman position, which East Bay MUD does not designate as a supervisor. And Utility Plumber Supervisor 1 remains on-site with the crew, is not responsible for laying out jobs, and does not coordinate with other departments or contractors. These duties are performed by the Utility Plumber Supervisor 2, which is a close match for GPS duties. HR offered the counterpoint that these positions have a higher grade of distribution certification required. General Pipe Supervisors currently require a D1. I'd like to address what appears to be a misunderstanding of the function of certification. The level of distribution certification has no impact on job function or ability, except for the district's distribution operator or shift operator. As the board is aware, EBMUD is the only local district with a department that exclusively works on large-scale distribution infrastructure renewal. In pipeline, our career ladder does not lead to an operator position that would require higher certification. ACMS and CMS both have the same requirement of a D1 certification. We are asking the board to approve updating the classifications on the base salary survey to the more closely matched utility plumber 2. Utility plumber supervisor 2, sorry.
Thank you. Carlton, is it Studman?
Yes. Good morning, President Young, members of the board, Manager Chan. I'm Carlton Studman, General Pipe Supervisor for PL5. As my fellow GPSs have shared, HR has failed to engage in an equity analysis or negotiation for our classification. We're asking for a 10% equity adjustment, which maintains a 15% separation from CMS and Manager of Fleet, our direct supervisors. We feel strongly that this is an appropriate adjustment as the ACMS classification and GPS classification have substantial overlap in duties, and ACMS is also separated from CMS by 15%. Upon review of the ACMS classification description, we found that ACMS meets the standard for comparison set by the district. A 10% adjustment would also bring us in line with the market rate of comparable classifications in Alameda and San Francisco. It has been 3 years since the district committed to performing an equity analysis, and we have provided 2 equity adjustment proposals and presentations during that time. We're asking the board to please consider our proposed adjustment. If the board would like to hear our more detailed proposal, we are happy to present it again, but we are not comfortable committing to having these conversations after the conclusion of contract negotiations. Thank you for your time.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Is this the proposal?
No. Ours, the general pipe supervisor's material is stapled together. And I present you with the entire proposal itself.
This? We have we walked into a bunch of paper in front of us, so I'm just trying to understand what's what.
I gave,
GPS right here, this is what he's talking about. So
Okay, this is the
GPS.
analysis that was done by HR, though. I'm asking where's the 21 proposal?
we don't have it with us. We can provide it to you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's hard to internalize everything that you're saying and try to write it down and okay? So your proposal would be helpful. Okay, thank you. Okay,
President Young, board members, General Manager Chan, good morning. My name is Ryan Ferner. I'm a General Pipe Supervisor of PL4. The GPS members were convinced to sign the previous contract by the explicit promise that the district would complete an equity analysis and engage in negotiations for an equity adjustment in good faith. This promise never materialized. And when Local 21 and the GPS members continued to push for the district to meet their obligation, the district stated they did not know the Local 21 and the GPS classification wanted compensation considered as part of an equity analysis. This is proven false by the existence of the 2021 GPS equity analysis document, which includes a cost estimate of Local 21's proposed salary adjustment. When Local 21 insisted, the district produced a base salary survey that supported denying an equity adjustment. When asked to review the included classifications, the district allegedly completed a thorough review and removed only one classification for being an undesirable match. As everyone involved is aware, there are still classifications included that do not meet the standard for comparison. The revised base salary survey intentionally misrepresents the market rate, and the district used it as a basis for denying an equity adjustment. Currently, we regularly perform duties outside of our classification description, such as materials procurement and redesigning job prints for engineering. We have continued to do so in the interest of productivity and meeting our department's goals, while under the misapprehension, the district was engaging in an equity analysis. but we cannot continue to perform these duties we are not fairly compensated for. And I'd like to say one other thing, that my experience with this whole equity analysis process has been one of the most demoralizing experiences I've had at the district. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, maybe we can do a two clap like at the end. Jason Littlefield, followed by Brian Miller, followed by Dustin. Dustin. That's fine. So Brian Miller.
Board of Directors, President Young, General Manager Chan. My name is Brian Miller. I'm compelled to speak here today to discuss the current negotiation and particularly the equity request presented by the water treatment supervisors. I've been a water treatment supervisor for 19 years and with the district for 33. It has been a long and arduous battle starting back in 2020. During the prior negotiations, the water treatment supervisors made a presentation for an equity adjustments based on changes to job duties and increased workload. As of 2021 negotiations slowed, the district proposed to address the equity adjustments after the 21 contract was signed. Local 21 agreed. After the contract was ratified, Local 21 approached the district, moving forward with the discussion on the equity adjustments with water treatment supervisors' request being a priority. The response from the district was not what we expected. HR denied that the district agreed to discuss the equity adjustments after the contract was ratified. It was only after providing the district with emails and other documentation that the district acquiesced to discuss the equity proposals. The district performed a classification study, which was completed by Coffin Associates in January 2023, which states that the water treatment supervisor's workload had increased and it made recommendations to add more duties to the job descriptions, which were currently being performed by the water treatment supervisors, but had not been reflected in the job description. As a result, there were numerous drafts to update the job description and to address the Coffin Associates' recommendations, and the final draft being published in February 2024. Prior to the final draft being published, Local 21 through HR discussed the possibility of equity through the chain of command. During those discussions, management team provided positive responses to the union. However, the equity adjustment was denied, stating that changes in the job description didn't justify the equity adjustment, and it would be addressed during the next negotiations. We wholeheartedly disagreed. So here we are asking the board of directors to address these known inequities again. Now, blanket denial for all equities have been passed to the union. Recently, Cindy Sharon and Adam Smyer discussed the possibility of addressing equity proposals after the new contract was ratified. This is a proverbial slap in the face. of
Brian,
water
your 2
treatment
minutes have
supervisors.
concluded. If you can wrap it up.
Will be.
Thank you.
Based on the history of this issue, it's a non-starter. Therefore, in solidarity, the water treatment supervisors again ask the board to grant the water treatment supervisors presented a two-step increase instead of making the hollow gestures. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Littlefield, followed by Dustin, followed by Allison Breed.
Good morning. My name is Jason Littlefield. I'm the water treatment supervisor for the Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant. As a water treatment supervisor, I'm proud to represent a team that not only is deeply committed to our daily responsibilities, but also consistently steps up when the district needs us. We take on these additional responsibilities not just because we're asked to, but because we understand what's at stake, delivering safe, clean water to the communities we serve every single day without fail. In recent years, our role has expanded significantly, from participating in public outreach events like the water education field trips to engaging in environmental impact review meetings. For major capital projects, we've become the operational voice for the district, helping the public understand the importance of critical water treatment infrastructure upgrades and ensuring that those projects can move forward. Just last year, I led a tour of neighbors of the Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant. This was a group of neighbors that were very involved in the environmental impact review process. At the conclusion of that tour, one of the project's most vocal critics said to me, "Now I understand why this project is so important." That kind of shift only happens when the people hear directly from those who are doing the work and how those changes will improve our ability to continue the district's mission. We don't take on these tasks lightly.
While we recognize their value, they come at a cost in time, coordination, and focus. With the upcoming chemical safety improvement projects at the Walnut Creek and Lafayette plants, those demands will only increase. Unlike the El Sobrante and Upper San Leandro plants, which share a dedicated construction coordinator, the Lafayette supervisor and I will be taking on these responsibilities ourselves, in addition to managing our plant operations and staff. Let me be clear, when it comes to these construction projects, we're not just participating, we're leading. We're protecting the interests of water treatment operation, which in turn protects our consumers and ratepayers. The early and continued involvement in the design, planning, and construction phases of these capital projects has already saved the district millions in avoidable construction costs. This is the kind of commitment that defines our work. It also is why we're here today, to advocate for an equity adjustment that accurately reflects the scope, scale, and impact of the responsibilities we've taken on. This isn't about seeking recognition, it's about ensuring fair compensation for the work already being done. Thank you.
Dustin and then Allison.
Good morning, board members, President Young, General Manager Chan. My name is Dustin Badion. I am the Water Treatment Plant Supervisor for the Upper San Leandro Treatment Plant. I am here today on behalf of the Water Treatment Plant Supervisors to address facts pertaining to our request for the equity adjustment based upon job classification description changes and increasing responsibilities as a plant supervisor. One topic of interest is the recent development and implementation of a comprehensive district water treatment training program. This program incorporates state-mandated standards and requirements, ensuring that it meets regulatory guidelines while addressing the specific needs of our district. Past practice for developing and implementing training traditionally fell on the superintendents. Current practice is that training responsibility falls on the supervisor of the plant in which the trainee is stationed. The trainee program follows an upper-out path, career path, initially designed to transition trainees to operators within 3 years and eventually to senior operators, all within a 5-year period. Per the Coffin Associate Equity Study, training of staff has changed in terms of the time allotted for operators to be fully trained, obtain the appropriate certifications, and work independently on shift. Historically, the time frame to train operators was approximately 5 years, and now the expectation is that a trainee will be fully trained, licensed, and work independently in 2 years. The expected time frame for training has decreased substantially, thus increasing the supervisor job duties to adhere to this goal. To address this gap, several hundred hours were spent developing a comprehensive training program that progresses logically through the key areas of plant operations. With a program in place and new additional tasks created, the supervisor workload has increased by at least an additional 10 to 15% in perpetuity to track, manage progress, learning assessment meetings, classroom exercises, and to test trainees. Another important area of concern is the expanded accounting responsibilities for supervisors since the implementation of the LC accounting system. In a nutshell, water treatment plant supervisors are not explicitly accounting professionals. Our workload has increased by a factor of 4. Things that took 10 to 15 minutes now take an hour for the first step. And on top of that, the rework has gotten astronomical. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison Breed, followed by Alan Chan, followed by Chris Faragian.
Good morning, board members. My name is Allison Breedy, Water Treatment Plant Supervisor at Sobrante Water Treatment Plant. I am here today to highlight facts regarding the equity adjustment requested based on job classification description changes and evolving responsibilities at the treatment plants. To be clear, the equity adjustment request is of 5% is not excessive based on the salary survey already conducted among the 7 local comparable agencies selected by the district. The salary survey data shows that the treatment plant supervisors are ranked 5th out of the 7 comparable agencies, thus demonstrating the request to be reasonable and not excessive. Since ratification of the current contract, one supervisor has stepped down to return to normal shift work operations, and one has resigned to go to another agency. It has become apparent that the district is not recruiting or retaining the most experienced, seasoned, desirable candidates to take on the responsibility of supervising the water treatment plants because the district has not sufficiently incentivized the level of responsibility with the compensation package. During the last recruitment to fill 3 vacancies, senior staff members with the most experience did not apply internally in sufficient numbers, resulting in an external recruitment, further demonstrating the lack of interest in promoting internally. When I applied internally, I in no way expected to be selected due to my limited experience, barely meeting the minimum candidate qualifications. My being here today speaks volumes about the caliber of candidate attracted to the district to take on the role through this recruitment process to be a water treatment plant supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Chan, followed by Chris Faragian, followed by Eric Larson.
Okay, thank you, Board of Directors and General Manager, for hearing me out today. My name is Alan Chan, and I'm one of the 5 senior electrical engineers of the district. I'm here to discuss our proposed 2.5% equity adjustment for the senior electrical engineer job class. We have electronically sent a copy of our presentation. We delivered to the district back in December 12th, a copy of the district response, and this speech to the Office of the Secretary. With limited time, I'm here to propose or provide my request and the history behind it. Starting with the history, the district, including HR, management, and the hiring supervisors, are well aware of the recruiting and retention problem with the electrical engineers. As a result, in the 2021 negotiations, the district agreed to a 2.5% equity adjustment for the associate electrical engineering job class. And then for the senior electrical engineer, they're the next technical step above the associate electrical and are the highest technical step for the electrical engineering discipline. We need all the same skill sets of the associate plus the managing responsibility. And so that the idea that the seniors are not under the same challenges as the associate recruitment is simply a false notion. The senior electrical engineers have waited patiently for this request as we presented this back in 2021. However, we were told that our request came in late and we'll need to wait for the next round of negotiations. Fast forward to now, our request was denied and the response did not address any of the reasons we brought up in our presentation on December 12th. So my request here for the board is a reevaluation of the senior electrical engineering equity adjustments with reason that address the issue we raised in the presentation. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Chris Faragian,
Here I am.
Eric, and then Andrew Kendall.
All right. Thank you very much, Board of Directors, for hearing me today. I'm Chris Faragian. I'm one of the 5 senior electrical engineers at the district. I'm following up on what Alan Chan was just speaking about earlier, primarily to highlight our concerns with the equity response to our equity adjustment proposal. We have 3 main concerns with this equity response. One is with the recruitment and retention side of things. This document says this class has neither recruitment nor retention problems. The district had 6 senior electrical engineers. Back in 2023, an otherwise well-performing senior electrical engineer of the Plant Engineering Services Group elected to voluntarily take a self-demotion down to the associate electrical job class. He found that the pay was not commensurate with the increased job duties of the senior job class and demoted down to the associate electrical engineer. He was otherwise well-performing and it had nothing to do with performance or other issues. In addition, we've had 6 different recruitments over the last 7 years for electrical engineers. The most recent one was filled by a mechanical engineer, otherwise qualified candidate, but was not successful at the electrical level. I consider this to be a recruitment issue, a retention issue, I'm sorry. The second point bringing up is this says there is a viable internal candidate pool for senior electrical engineer job class. The district has 7 work groups that house electrical engineers. In the staffing plan, those 7 work groups are entitled or have 33 positions available for associate electrical engineers. Only 12 are filled. 12 of the 33 are filled right now. Of those 12, who I know personally myself, only 2, I believe, went for the most recent recruitment, and most of them are not interested in the senior job class. This is not what I would consider to be a viable internal candidate pool. Also, this brings up compaction. Compaction, they look at as the compaction between seniors and management. I don't think anyone's considering the managers have a recruitment and retention problem. The compaction we're talking about is between associates and seniors. The compaction for associates and seniors are now to 12.5% for the electrical discipline, while it's 15% for the other disciplines. We'd like to request to align to it. So my request to the board is please request a meaningful response to the topics we brought up. in our presentation, which you have a copy of, and also address those three issues I just brought up: recruitment, retention, viable internal candidate pool, compaction information. Along with, there were subject matter experts in the room when we gave our presentation. I would like to see a summary of what those subject matter experts thought of our presentation from back in December. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Eric, followed by Andrew Kendall, followed by Kyle Terry.
Good morning, President Young, General Manager Chan. My name is Eric Larson. I'm President AFSCME Local 444. Have you heard already this morning a lot of frustration from other locals regarding the equity adjustment process? Following my presentation, you'll hear from 444 members with frustration with the equity adjustment process. This should come as no surprise to district staff. When I first met with Director of HR, Cindy Sharon, when she first started at the district, I had many discussions with her about the importance of classification at the district as it relates to district civil service work, and the importance of having accurate job descriptions, and the need to update job descriptions as the work evolves. That's done through classification studies and equity adjustments. This is stewardship as it relates to classification, and that's the job of Lori Warden and Director Cindy Sharon. Over a year ago, the union began meeting with HR Director Cindy Sharon and staff to discuss approaches to negotiating our successor contract. One of the first issues I brought up with her was the need to have union involvement in the total compensation study. That is, consultation about which comparator agencies are used and which classifications are good matches. That's teamwork, and it never happened. This packet, which was provided to us on April 10th of 2025, just a couple weeks ago, responding no to every one of our equity adjustment presentations given over 6 months ago. 6 months prior, in October of 2024, cites the 2024 compensation survey for labor market compensation, but uses data different than what was provided to us in our information request, and uses data not relevant like City of Napa, and does not include data that we provided during our presentations. It also uses outdated wage data, and that routinely cites that no retention issues without presenting any retention data. It provides misleading recruitment data that is lacking integrity. And so when we got a proposal on April 17th, just 3 days before our contract expiration, that HR will discuss comparator agencies and classifications in July and August of 2025, that should have happened a year ago. It's too little and it's too late.
Eric, can you wrap up your
I
comments,
am wrapping it
please?
up right now. Thank you, Risha. It lacks respect and violates our trust. You need to address the priority equities now, and then we can have a side letter moving forward to complete classification studies outside of bargaining that have an accurate total compensation study completed before bargaining begins. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, Andrew Kendall, Kyle Terry, Steve Meyer.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Kendall. I'm an instrument tech here at the district, and I've been here for a little more than 7 years. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of instrument techs here at the district. We maintain the instrument and analyzers that ensure our drinking water is safe. We maintain the communication and control systems that allow our operators to treat and deliver water to our customers. We maintain the equipment needed for treating and discharging wastewater safely. Many of our instruments and analyzers are required for regulatory compliance, and without this equipment, the district would not be allowed to operate. Our work requires us to provide 24/7 standby support to ensure failures of critical equipment don't lead to disruption to service or regulatory violations. Simply put, we cannot provide water or wastewater service to our ratepayers without instrument techs. Instrument techs are mission critical to the district's operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, Steve, and then Jason something.
Good morning, President Young, board members, and General Manager Chan. My name is Kyle Terry. I've been an instrument tech here at EBMUD for 10 years. I'm here to address our contract negotiations, which fail to reflect the critical work we do or the intense pressures that we face. As an instrument tech, I'm essential to the district's operations. Like Andrew was saying, we maintain water treatment and distribution process and control instruments, ensuring reliable water flow. We service communication equipment that delivers real-time data to the operator's screens, which allows them to operate remotely. We also maintain water quality analyzers that measure chemical dosing, ensuring compliance with strict regulatory standards for safe drinking water. Our group is on call 24/7, 365, fixing emergencies at any hour, and we help resolve design issues on construction projects to keep them on track. Just one example, during this current CSIP project, we identified chemical magnetic flow meters that didn't meet the required fee rates for our treatment plants. The ones that were spec'd cost more than what we actually needed and wouldn't meet the required feed rates. And they would have led to expensive change orders for the rest of the treatment plants. My group also steps up when the capital project designs are incomplete. Recently, on the Orinda CO2 project, the design was missing critical specs, which would have required major change orders. Our group jumped in and worked with engineers to adjust the instrumentation and drawings on site, avoiding delays and extra cost. We willingly go the extra mile to get the job done, but we're stretched thin. Additionally, our position ranks in the bottom 15% of pay for similar roles in Northern California, fueling staffing shortages. Retirees aren't replaced and colleagues have left for better paying jobs. The district's rejection of our pay adjustments ignores this crisis, making it harder to maintain reliable systems and complete capital projects. Low pay and overwork show a lack of respect for our contributions. I understand the board faces tough financial choices, but fair pay is an investment in the workforce that ensures safe, reliable water. Our role, maintaining instruments, communications, and water quality is vital. Below market pay.
Kyle, can you please wrap up your comments?
Yes, I will. And an overburdened, understaffed team threatens service and project timelines. My colleague Steve Mayer will follow me up to highlight how our pay compares to other Northern California agencies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, and then Jason, is it Marjan? Okay, you know who you are. Great. And then Tim Schlechter. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Steve Mayer. I proudly worked for the district as an instrument tech for the last 16 years. As my colleagues have spoken today, the instrument technician classification is essential to the reliable operation of the district. Today, I'd like to focus on two key areas: recruitment and retention challenges and how our compensation compares to similar agencies. Ahead of this meeting, I electronically shared several supporting documents, and I'll start with a spreadsheet titled Instrument Technician Equity Adjustment Survey 2025, which looks like this. This chart lists comparable agencies and their compensation for equivalent job classifications, ranked from highest to lowest base pay. And as you can see, the instrument technician job at EBMUD is second from the bottom on this list. Currently, there are 3 vacant instrument tech positions. 2 are due to retirements, and a third position is for instrument tech who resigned after 13 years of service. Recent recruitments have consistently drawn a low number of qualified candidates. I've spoken in depth with 2 of our instrument supervisors, Martin Costello and Andrew Westcott, and who are directly involved with the hiring process. Both have expressed concern over the limited number of candidates in the recruitment pool. While we were unable to obtain most of the recent recruitment data from the employee relations in time for this meeting, it's my understanding that the latest recruitment received over 100 applicants. Of those, about half of them met the minimum qualifications, were invited to take the oral exam, and about half of them actually showed up. And of the ones that actually passed, was only a handful, 4 or 5. They had a high enough score for the oral interviews, which are actually taking place today. The previous hiring cycles yielded similar results. For reference, I've included the recruitment data from September 21 through 23, which confirms this is a long-standing trend. Additionally, the district currently employs 32 instrument technicians. Several are at or approaching retirement age. The potential for more vacancies in the near future highly only heightens the urgency of our, of addressing this issue.
Steve,
I'd also
can you
like
please
to
wrap up your
highlight
comments?
a recent case. Can Andrew Westcott yield his time to me? He forgot to ask you for that. Is that possible?
Board President?
He had
Because
about a
we're
minute
at
left.
2 minutes and 30 seconds
Okay.
at this point.
I'd like to highlight recent case with at Central Contra Costa Sanitation District, which faced similar recruitment difficulties. Included in your packet is a board position paper from their November 21st, 2024 meeting, submitted by their HR manager, I think her name is pronounced Tahi O'Malley, outlining the exact challenges we face here at the district. In response, their board unanimously approved a 5% equity adjustment for their instrument technicians, electricians, and a 2.5% adjustment for their supervisors. I'd like to stress at this time that at that time of their adjustment, the Cal San tax already made 2.2% above us. And now, following the adjustment, they're at about 7.16 above us on the scale, and they're listed on this list too.
Mr. Mayor, we didn't get, we got it by email, but it's not in our.
In your packet.
Right.
I have
It's not in
printouts
our-
if you like them.
In our papers, and you're now way over time.
Okay, just I got one more paragraph. Says, we believe EBMUD should remain competitive by targeting the 75% percentile in our study, which would place us at par with the city of San Jose.
Okay,
To reach that level, we need a 10% equity adjustment and bump us up from pay scale 66 to 70.
okay.
The
Thank
instruments are the
you.
backbone of the district, ensuring safe, efficient, uninterrupted operations
Mr.
that are
Meyer?
compliant with
Mr. Mayor?
regulations.
I'm sorry, you are 2 minutes over, so you've used double time, okay?
Thank you very much for your time, folks.
And I know everybody has important stuff to say, and you all do extremely important work. And I and everyone else is appreciative of that, but we do need to hold you to time, and it's not intended to disregard what you have to say. It's just that we really need to keep the ship running. Thank you. Jason, and then Tim, and then Roy, Andy, Abbott.
I have some packets to give out that weren't included. So my name is Jason Burton. I work for FMC East Electrical. We're looking for a 5% equity adjustment to put us more on par with the rest of the people around us. On the second 11 by 17 page, I've gone through all your guys' comps, and the ones that are legitimate, I kept in white. The ones that had incorrect either salaries or job descriptions that don't meet our standards, I've put in red for you guys. But what I really want to talk about is my job as an electrician is extremely dangerous. You're 30 times more likely to die from like a simple incident. So for us, it's very important to know the people you work with and to form almost like a family environment. So retaining people is crucial. And that's why we thinking the 5% would help us to retain people and not have them look at other places. There was, later last year, there was an incident at another sanitation district. And that individual, unfortunately, he lived, but he got seriously injured. And part of that was because, well, I'm not sure why, but he was working by himself instead of working as a team with another person. And it shouldn't have happened. But anyway, I just stress the very important part is to make sure that we all work safely and to retain the people we have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Tim Schluchter,
Very good.
is that right? I try. It took me almost all of kindergarten to spell my name on one line, so I get it when you've got a name that everybody gets wrong. So, and then Roy, Andy Abbott, and then Nathaniel Hovland. Go ahead.
Apologize for having to read this, but I really do need to get through all of it. Madam President, members of the board, Manager Chan, thank you very much for the opportunity. We need to address an issue within fleet, heavy equipment mechanics, and yes, this is an equity adjustment. The problem is twofold. While people are leaving for a myriad of reasons, we're losing people we should never lose. The other half of that is when we rehire, putting someone just due to their score, or you put a warm body in that place, you're losing the skill set. We're losing the collective skill set within our team. And for a little bit of context, of the 14 board-funded positions for heavy equipment mechanics, and just in the last 3 years, we've had a 75% turnover. Now, how you can expect us to maintain not only a wide in scope, but a high in density skill set to maintain the equipment that we do, the wide range of equipment that we do, safely, efficiently, and do a good job so it doesn't come back and bite me. It's hard to do when you're having that kind of turnover. Now, a little bit of extra context. 2013, when I first applied for the district for employment, for one position, there was 135 applicants that made it through the initial screening process and were invited to a written test. Of those, 125 showed up. Now, once those were scored, I believe the number was 57 that made it, that were invited to skills tests. Significant numbers, wide range, a lot of skills to choose from. They're very experienced people. Fast forward to 2023, same process, but now for 2 positions instead of just 1. We didn't even have enough to hold the process open. It was held open for an additional month. Social media was salted, a little more outreach on social media. At that point, okay, now we have enough to at least hold the process. That put us into 24. So 2024, again, for the 2 positions, we now have 24 that were invited to the written test that passed the initial screening. Of that, 9 were invited to the skills test. And of course, the results were graded on a curve.
Tim, can you wrap up your comments? Your time
Yes,
is on
ma'am.
the screen. You're up
Yes,
20
ma'am.
seconds. Thank you.
Now, I'm supposed to put a number on this. I find that a little hard to do because I make a good living and food on the table and a roof over our heads, and I get that. However, a couple of examples. Those that left, the most recent, PG&E. One gate into another gate, he got a 10% raise. Next one, we never should have lost her. She went to Port of Oakland, 15% raise. This is mechanics. The third one, not a mechanic, also Port of Oakland. He went from our senior to a supervisor at Port of Oakland, fleet maintenance again, $40,000 raise. I understand it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. It's apples and turnips kind of because he's now a supervisor.
You're at 3 minutes.
I understand. The last one, he's running the Ford program at UTI in Avondale, Arizona. He wouldn't tell me how much he makes, but when I told him how much I made, he said, yeah, I got you beat. So we need to get ahead of this problem, and I'm asking for the help to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're getting a lot of folks that are taking up more than the time that we've asked for, so please, 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 keep your comments to the 2-minute mark. Roy, Andy Abbott, Nathaniel Hovland, Efrain Valencia.
Good morning, board members, President Young, General Manager Chan, thank you for your time. I just want to reiterate what my coworker Jason Burton had said, and you guys have all the information packets backing up our information on our request for an equity adjustment of 5%. We have had retention issues, and I can only speak for myself. When I first got into the district 10 years ago, I had tried for 5 years to get in. And the standards were much higher for us to get in as an electrician then. And we've had to lower them because we've had issues trying to fill positions and such. So that being said, as it sits now, we as East Bay Mud electricians are actually in the lower half of like any neighboring utilities that employ electricians. And as you can see from the information that we presented, we have more duties and responsibilities than any of these electricians in the neighboring districts. So I'm asking you on behalf of all of us electricians here who have arguably the most dangerous job in the district. All of our jobs are important, but we have a dangerous one, to reconsider our request for a 5% equity adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nathaniel Hovland, Efrain Valencia, Matthew Raymond.
Good morning, President Young, members of the board, General Manager Chan. My name is Nathaniel Hovland, and I'm a paving raker C here with the district. Paving raker C or PRC hold heavy equipment responsibilities and technical knowledge that no other position at the district requires. The PRC is responsible for daily operation, transport, and maintenance of our asphalt milling machine. This machine requires years of experience in safe operation, technical knowledge, and ability to maneuver both the machine and our 60-foot transport truck and trailer in and around difficult job sites throughout the district. From Grizzly Peak to Redwood Road, East 14th to Ignatia Valley, the paving raker Cs meet the task at hand. The 22-ton asphalt milling machine is utilized at a multitude of capacities. PRCs operate not just for maintenance purposes, but are also used for main breaks, extensions, and facilities maintenance and restoration. PRCs also fill in as HEOs, TD2s, HTOs, and fulfill all of the raker A and B responsibilities on a daily basis. The PRC schedule is sporadic, with work locations and responsibilities changing every day. Our record keeping is crucial, which not only includes maintenance, but most importantly, our log of locations and material removed, keeping us in compliance with the California Air Resource Board. All of those responsibilities fall upon only 2 paving raker Cs employed by the district. The asphalt milling machine was purchased prior to any recruitment and then sat dormant for 2 years pending hiring. With the low representation in salary and wide range of journeyman level experience required to qualify, the PRC was and continues to be an extremely difficult position to recruit for. The PRC fulfills far more responsibilities than that of what is required in any other municipality, and we do believe is undervalued and underpaid. In closing, in only 225 individual days of operation, we have removed 18,850 tons of asphalt, filling 1,571 dump trucks. And at an average cost to rent from an outside agency at $6,000 per day, the paving raker Cs in our machine have saved the district $1.35 million in rental costs to date. I hope that this provides more clarification for you and you'll consider our recommendation further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have Efrain Valencia, Matthew Raymond, and Teresa Soto Martinez.
Hello, good morning, members of the board. I'm Efrain Valencia, paving raker B, and I'm representing the paving raker Bs on the paving department. We're requesting an equity adjustment for the paving raker B positions for a number of reasons, including challenges in recruiting, inequity in salary and job class comparisons, complex job responsibilities, and salary lag with other similar positions at EBMUD. The recruitment process takes extended amount of time. It is challenging to get good candidates interested in the position, and we haven't been able to fill a number of positions intended. Since 2005, we have only been able to recruit 1 raker B per crew, when the intent has been 2 raker Bs per crew. We think these problems with recruitment are due to low wages and the heavy workload. Currently, there are only 6 raker Bs positions filled, 8 crews in the paving department, so less than 1 raker B per crew. We compare a raker B position salary, which tops out at $118,704 a year, compared to a worker 3 of value water maintenance, which tops out at $124,259. All individuals who fulfill the position for raker B have responsibilities in the paving department that go beyond the responsibilities of all the other positions in the paving crew. As a raker B, not only do we operate heavy equipment, we drive commercial trucks to haul materials and transport heavy equipment to and from job sites. We dump and spread asphalt by hand as well as with the paving machine, which requires a skillful operation. When we work out of class, we are required to fulfill the position of a crew foreman and oversee administrative responsibilities. We do not have a problem taking on the workload. We want to get compensated for our skills.
Can you wrap up your comments? You're 20 seconds over.
I just want to end with these positions have never had a equity adjustment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Matthew Raymond, Teresa Soto Martinez, and Tony Martin. And please, please, please try to consolidate your comments. Thank you.
Good morning, President Young, members of the board, General Manager Clifford Chan. I'm speaking on behalf of the painters. I'm here to ask the board to consider the equity adjustment that we feel we deserve. The 12 painters and 2 foremen here at the district are tasked with numerous coatings and ceilings duties that are outside the scope of work for painters that were included in HR's comparisons. We are painters that install floors, glaze windows, and do waterproofing. The painter's classification has not been updated in more than 30 years, and it does not reflect the actual duties that we do here at the district. In order to retain quality painters we have currently and to remain competitive in future recruitments, we need to have the compensation brought up to par. I'd also like to echo what the gentleman over here said. This entire equity adjustment process has been the most demoralizing thing I've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Soto Martinez?
Clifford Chang. My name is Teresa Soto Martinez. I've been a janitor here at the district for 32 years next month. When I first started here, we had 25 janitors and we were at step 45. We serviced 8 locations, and at that time we were Y-rated, saying we had more janitors than work, which meant we were lower to step in our pay. Currently, we now have only 22 janitors. We've lost 3 positions, and we've incurred more than 23 locations and approximately 20 pumping plants additional work, with more work coming with the construction and all these capital projects coming on hand. We are asking for a 1-step equity adjustment to take us back to what we once had. There wasn't enough work then. There's more than enough work now. We've met multiple challenges over the years: COVID, increased staffing, construction, driving to locations, now remote sites, and all the security issues that we incur out there. I implore you, please, give us back what we once had. Contrary to popular belief, being a janitor at EBMUD is more than pulling trash, pushing a vacuum, and cleaning bathrooms. We are the eyes and ears for the district. We are the custodians of health and safety for EBMUD employees, and we deserve a 1-step equity adjustment back to what we once had. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Martin? After Tony is Martin Semien, and then Gilbert Laredo. That was Gilbert just now, I think, right?
Madam President, to the board, to the general manager. I didn't have anything written down because it'll come better just as it is. What you see is a challenge flag. No, I do not plan to throw it at no one. But in sports, when a play is called and they want to challenge it, they usually throw out a challenge flag. I would like to challenge the board to consider all the equity adjustments everyone spoke about. I would like to consider, for the board to consider their negotiator, who is feeding at least 444 slop. We don't like to eat slop. No one likes to eat slop. We all have families. We have our loved ones. We all have our individual bills. Our goal is for everybody, everywhere, to prosper. We're asking the board to allow us, who go out and speak on your behalf to the ratepayers and calm the environment so it doesn't have to get to you, to please consider that. We do not want to have to deal with all this. You don't want to have to deal with the ratepayers. We go over and beyond. We try our hardest to keep the peace out in the environment. Consider each, every ward you represent. And as we go through, and the ratepayers see this, and oh, they did a great job, they were so polite, they whatever we did to accommodate them. And then we come back, we're in negotiations, we get offers that are slop. It's an insult to us as employees. And the fact that we speak on your behalf a lot of times and stuff you just don't know. And please consider all the equity adjustments. consider the negotiation, raise the bar. Whoever the negotiator is, look, give them the power needed so that we can do what we have to do and put everything behind us and move forward peacefully. Thank you.
Okay, Martin Simeon, Gilbert Laredo, and Mikey Morgan.
Good afternoon to the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Everyone here today is well aware of the increased costs we all are experiencing, even though inflation has supposedly slowed. Periodically over the last year, we have seen fuel costs increase by 10% or more, double-digit increases in the cost of electricity and gas and other utilities. Grocery prices that are up more than 10%, and not to mention huge increases in our automobile and home insurance policies of as much as 20 to 30%. These are everyday costs we see on an everyday basis, dollars that are coming out of our pockets that are directly impacting our cost of living and our ability to keep our heads above water. The CPIW rate that our potential COLA increases are tied to certainly do not address the costs of everyday living, as most people in this meeting will attest to. And I ask the board to consider the valuable work we perform each day for our ratepayers and ask you to consider if we are only worth receiving a 2% cost of living adjustment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have Gilbert Laredo, Mikey Morgan, and then John Halseth.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Board, Clifford Chan. Thank you for your time. Been some compelling speeches today, so I threw mine out the door. We're short on time. Everybody's done great. We do have retention issues and hiring issues. You've had multiple recruitments in one calendar year. For example, heavy equipment operators, mechanics, just to name a few. Cindy Sharon and Lori Warden really need to do better at their job. They need to do better. A lot of people didn't turn in equity adjustments because it's so frustrating. The foreman didn't. There's many other positions throughout the unions that did not because it's demoralizing. We're an afterthought when it comes to this. I'll be really brief. We really need to do better, the district as a whole. We don't feel respected across the unions, not at all. We asked Lori and Cindy to do a better job. A lot of more people would have turned in equity adjustments if it wasn't so frustrating and hard, only to be shot down constantly every time a contract comes up. With that being said, remember our core values, teamwork. During negotiation, teamwork's gone out the window. Respect and integrity, gone. Stewardship, gone. It only applies when they want it to be, it seems like. With that being said, let's bring back Mother Mud. Those of you that have been here long enough, remember when we talked about Mother Mud, how it was family oriented? We used to have company picnics. We don't get that anymore. We don't feel that love anymore. And those are from people that have been here. Joey knows what I'm talking about. We need to bring that back so it's more of a family environment. I have 32 seconds, so I'll be brief. I was going to retire in 3 years, but I'm going to stick around another contract because there's still a fight to be had here. We're not done yet. And this won't be the last time you guys see me up here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Okay, we're rounding the bend here. I have Mikey Morgan, John Halseth, then Justin Hurst, and last speaker card, Kevin Amdahl.
Hello, Board of Directors, General Manager Chan. My name is Mikey Morgan. I am the Chief Steward and on the negotiating team for 444, and I'm here again to talk about our fatigue time proposal, mainly the cutoff time and shift overlap. I know I've been here to talk about this before, but it's a very meaningful and important matter of safety. Fatigue time is here to protect the workers from being put into situations where they would be sleep deprived. When workers don't have adequate rest, they could prevent them from having good judgment and quick reactions. And when we don't have good judgment and quick reactions, people can get hurt or killed. Management feels that having the cutoff 4 hours before the start of shift should be the cutoff for when we no longer can be fatigued. In my work unit, that means 3 in the morning. This is problematic because when we are abruptly woken in the early morning times, we don't get meaningful rest. We have lives and families outside of work and can't just come home and immediately fall asleep as if we were robots. On top of that, management has set KPIs about fatiguing out crews, So when emergencies come late at night, the district will wait until 3 a.m. to call out a crew to prevent us from getting fatigued out at the cost of wasting water and delaying the repair. We are proposing to change the cutoff time from 2 to 4 hours. This would be late enough in the morning so that there'd be minimal impact to sleep schedule and help the district make the correct and moral decisions for when they call us out into work. Similarly, with shift overlap, the language isn't there to help us get rich or to incentivize us to stay longer, but rather help management make sure we get relieved after working through the night. In cases where an emergency was bad enough that we couldn't fix it before the start of the workday, we can't just drop our tools and leave at 7 o'clock. We have to wait for crews that are just starting the workday to bring their equipment and then update them on what needs to be done to finish the job, and then we have to get back to the yard to clean up so we could finally go home and get some much-earned rest. With our proposed language, it helps ensure that fatigued workers are able to get home at a reasonable time and not be exploited by management. It is a fair request, and I really encourage you to accept what we are asking to ensure safe work practices. Thank you.
Okay, John Halseth, Justin Hurst, and then Kevin Umdahl.
My name is John Halseth. I'm Water Distribution Plumber 3 with 18 years of experience and Member Relations Secretary for Local 444. I'm here to talk to you today about the way that district management treats members of 444 as opposed to other employees, specifically on boots and meals. Right now, there are two different processes for purchasing boots. In 2023, purchasing put out a memo that outlines these differences. Members of 444 must purchase boots from a list of approved vendors, and everybody else may purchase boots at these vendors or may purchase boots elsewhere and submit for reimbursement. The district splash pad has a safety shoe page with links to this memo. In fact, the splash pad itself highlights the differences because on that page, there's a section for 444 and then there's a section for everybody else. While our members are required to buy shoes at certain locations, some of which have earned reputations for being very expensive, the rest of the district's allowed to shop around for the best deal. Some of our members have been able to find their preferred boots online for as much as $80 cheaper than at district vendors, but we're not allowed to buy these same boots at a cheaper price merely because we're represented by 444. The district also discriminates against 444 members when it comes to issuing overtime meal reimbursements. On planned overtime, other employees are provided with a meal reimbursement for every 4 hours worked, while members of 444 have to work 10 hours before earning their first meal reimbursement. Why are there two sets of rules? Why is there one set of rules for 444 and one set of rules for everybody else? Management will never say it out loud, but it's a lack of respect for 444. Management looks down their noses at 444 and sees us than less than. Our SMT is, and has traditionally been, mostly engineers. They take care of their former positions and look down on the rest of us with contempt. Our employees are just as valuable as the rest of the district. We're the ones who repair, replace, and maintain our water and wastewater systems. We're the ones who repair streets and sidewalks and keep public roadways and walkways safe. We're the ones who keep the district facilities clean and well-maintained. We're the ones who read and maintain water meters to keep the district funded. We're the ones who treat the East Bay's wastewater and keep the bay from turning into a cesspool. We're just as important as everybody else who works here, and we demand that we be treated as such. Thank
you. Thank you. Justin Hurst and then Kevin Umdahl.
Good morning, members of the board, President Young, General Manager Chan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a maintenance machinist. I've been here just over 3 years, and I have the potential to work another 40 years, and I'll be 66, be ready to retire at that point. I want to talk about the PEPRA. There's two proposals that were given to the negotiation team. I like the second proposal. It's more of a longevity. You get a bump every 5 years, something that I would really like. I like what I do here at the district, and I know it's been really hard to find machinists. The last hiring processes, we haven't really found any good candidates. They try, they show up. They're not really up to par of what we need to maintain our pumps, our motors, to keep our clean water flowing. if we get that proposal met and accepted, I'm sure we'll have more machinists that are willing to come over here, make the commute, join the team. What our other members said, I'd like to see some of that mother mud. I don't know what that is, and it sounds like it would be good. So thank you for your time. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Kevin, Andal.
All right. Good morning, Board of Directors, General Manager Chan. Thanks for the opportunity to speak again. A lot of passion out here today, a lot of good points made. I'll try to keep mine within the 2 minutes. But you know, a lot of the equity stuff that was presented to you today obviously has to do with bringing our employees up to par with other comparable agencies in the area. And this definitely, you know, goes to the heart of recruitment and retention. That being said, I'm here again to reiterate, just like my colleague Justin here said, we are really seeking to bolster the retirement of PEPRA member employees. I myself am a PEPRA member, and I'm a huge advocate for the program. I think in addition to equities, the PEPRA proposals, specifically that 444 has on the table, would do a lot to address recruitment and retention. You know, as Justin just spoke to, we have a terrible time recruiting in our classification. I could go on and on about all the other ones. You've heard a lot from the various classifications. And I think that if the district's negotiations team would take our PEPRA longevity and 401k incentive proposals seriously and offer us a meaningful package, we'd be happy to negotiate that. And I think that once we can get this done, it will go a long ways towards aiding in recruitment and retention, not only in my classification, but district-wide, as the majority of the employees are now PEPRA members. So with that, I'll conclude, but thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, all of you, for taking the time to present your concerns and interests in this process. I can tell you that we are all taking this very seriously and want to end up with a contract all of us can feel maybe not jump up and down for, but at least feel like that we've made progress. Do we have any speakers online? Okay. With that, we will adjourn to, or not adjourn, we will recess to, or not recess, we will begin meeting in conference room 8 to consider items, where's my cheat sheet? Item 1, just one item. And you guys can guess what it is. We're now ready to start our regular business meeting for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. We will receive reports from this morning's Finance and Administration Committee meeting prior to the consent calendar. Roll call. Madam Secretary, please.
Director Chan?
Present.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Director Katz?
Here.
Director Lewis is out of the room. Director Odie?
I'm here.
Director Smith?
Present.
President Young?
Here. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our next item is recognizing Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and East Bay MUD's Asian Pacific Employees Association. General Manager Chan.
Thank you, President Young. First, we have Derry Moten here to share and honor Asian Pacific Heritage Month, which begins in May.
Before you start, I would like to be able to read that proclamation. I have read the API Heritage Month proclamation every year since I started here. I am the only API board member, and so I would like to read that proclamation. Director Young, President Young.
Fine.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Derry. Derry?
He needs.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. All right. Good afternoon. I am pleased to share that the Asian Pacific Employee Association, also known as APEA, was founded in 1998 to promote, educate, and provide information to enhance the visibility, value, and advancement of district employees at EBMUD and in our communities, and to support the district's missions and goals of serving the public. In honor of Asian Pacific Heritage Month in May, APEA is holding a series of weekly events to highlight and celebrate the rich and diverse cultures within the Asian Pacific diaspora. These events include Thursday, May 1st, the Asian Pacific Heritage Month opening ceremony with street fair style food tasting. May 8th, tea tasting social. May 13th, Mahjong learning. And May 20th, East Bay Mud's Got Talent. And Wednesday, 5/28, May 28th, a potluck luau. Each of these events showcase different elements of Asian Pacific cultures through performance, drink, and dance. On behalf of the Board of Directors, we encourage all employees to support APEA and take part in the Asian Pacific Heritage Month. Thank you. And I add also that I've been to all of these events. They were really fun. And if the other board of directors happen to be here on those days, please attend the events. They are really a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Chan. Next, we have Laura Solangsang, our Senior Human Resources Analyst, that'll share with you the employees who received service awards between January and March of 2025.
Yeah, so we have 94 employees who actually are celebrating a service award increment, and the increments go from 5, 10, 15, all the way up until what we have today is employees who are celebrating 40 years of experience. So before I introduce our recipients who are here in person, I just want to give a call out to the ones who are celebrating 40 years. That's Letha Harris and Dennis McKee. So Letha is a Ranger Naturalist and Dennis is over at the machine shop. And then we have Cynthia Sue, who works at the lab. They are not here today, but I just wanted to give a special shout out to them. We have many employees here who are celebrating 10 years, 25 years, and 30 years. And I just want to ask those employees to please stand up before we go into the presentation. So we have Dawn Benson, we have Lillian, and we have Jose, and we have Matt, we have Rebecca, we have Jeff, and we have Elizabeth. And Brian. Brian, I missed you back there. How many years, Brian? 10. Okay, you're with the 10-year club right here. Okay, so we have a variety of employees in the district, and I'm just really proud that I'm looking at most of them. I have memories of each of them, and some I don't know yet. So that means I have to get to know you. Anyone want to share anything while we're here, or acknowledge anything about your years of service? Okay. All right, well, thank you. So, yeah, we could go through the PowerPoint. I just want everyone to see all the names of the 94 employees we're going through. Should I control this? Or? Okay, thank you. All right. Let's see if it works. The keyboard arrows. I am. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So just a little reminder that the district does have an employee recognition program. So not only are we have the privilege of recognizing years of service, We also do peer recognitions, local celebrations, and we will start being more consistent in recognizing Employee Recognition Month for March. So just know we're working on that. But these are the programs that our Employee Recognition Program is meant to support. And like we just said earlier, the service awards are for 5-year increments. And you also get recognized when you retire. So for those of you, like Joey, I'm looking at you. When you retired, did you get a belt buckle or did you get a vase? You got a buckle. See, that's what I want. I want a buckle. And so if you get a vase, you get the buckle that's placed in the vase. And then you also, if you are retiring with 25 or more years, you also get a wooden plaque on top of that. And I already gave a call out to these fine folks who were 40 and 35 years, but take a look at how many we have for 30 years. Elizabeth is here in person. And recognize all of these names, as well as for 25 years, Dawn is here in person and Jeff is here in person. And we have others who are from other parts of the district, as well as 20 years. Just wanted to give you a chance to see those names. And for 15 years and 10 years, and here we have a picture of Mary, who's a customer services rep. Right. Like I said, we have 94 employees who are all celebrating from the months of March, January through March. And here we have a photo of a celebration from Wastewater Engineering Division of recipients of service awards, as well as a group from Pipeline who contains people who are also celebrating service awards. And we have many employees with the 5-year. Okay. So I just want to close by saying we really do value the loyalty and commitment our employees have to the district, and we really love to celebrate them, especially in this venue. But for those of you who are listening, celebrating shouldn't only be in these big events. It would be great for everyone to receive recognition from their own leaders regularly for not only years of service, but also for really good work. So let's continue to support recognition in general for all employees. So do you have any questions for me? Or any questions of all of the recipients who are receiving today? Congratulations. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have one announcement from closed session, and that is that this morning's closed session has been adjourned to this afternoon, immediately following the conclusion of the regular meeting, when the board will convene here at the East Bay Municipal Utility District Boardroom on the 8th floor. The board will continue consideration of item 1 of the regular closed session agenda for the morning meeting and will not consider any new items. Because no actions are anticipated to be taken, the board will not return for announcements following the closed session, and there are no other announcements from closed session. Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to public comment. I don't believe we have any speaker cards. However, do we have any members of the public online?
No online public comment.
Okay, I'll continue reading through this, and if anybody surfaces. If there are members of the public online or who online and wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on non-agenda items will be heard now. Comments on agenda items will be heard when that item is considered. And still no hands. Okay, we will not have any public comment for our public session. We'll now move on to committee reports. The minutes for the April 8th, 2025 Planning and Legislative Committee and Legislative and Human Resources Committee meetings were provided in the agenda minutes and reported on at our last meeting. We'll now get an update from Director Lewis on this morning's Finance Administration Committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The Finance Administration Committee met this morning and received the monthly investment transaction report, which is on the consent calendar. We also received the quarterly financial reports for the quarter ended March 31, 2025, and a report on EBMUD Series 2025 water and wastewater bonds. Those are item 14.1 and 14.2 under determination. After lengthy discussion regarding these bonds, also we talked about the our funds with this volatile market, the security, how they're protected. The recommendation from the committee, we accepted the report on the wastewater bonds with the belief that under the, what do I want to say? Under the ramifications that are set forth in the proposal, that this best serves the organization and our ability to protect against fluctuations and also to substitute, what do I want to say? Help me, committee here. Substitute more secure funding at a lower rate than we might otherwise. And that was our recommendation. So with that messy summary, I submit that report.
Okay, great. We will now move on to consent calendar items 1 through 12. Are there any requests from board members to pull any of the items?
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, one more thing, and it's worth interrupting. We also received information about our phenomenal credit rating from the organization. So I did think it was worth interrupting to say that and to thank the Finance Committee and the organization as a whole for its wonderful operations. Thanks.
Definitely worth an interruption. All right. Moving on to the consent calendar, we have items 1 through 12. Are there any requests to pull items?
I would like to pull the minutes. The minutes from the last board meeting.
Okay.
And so.
Hang on. Director Odie?
Thank you. I really don't have anything to pull, but I did want to note that I'm really excited that item 6 is on there, the influent pump station resiliency design project. I'm glad we're getting that moving forward because that is a critical piece of infrastructure that if it fails in a natural disaster, we are all in bad shape. I'll just leave it at that. So excited that that one's moving forward.
Great. Okay. Director Chan, what's your?
Okay, I just did want to pull the minutes and, just point out a couple of things that were written here, inconsistent with my memory. And of course, I don't have the records. I just have my memory. And so maybe this is something that Risha and I can talk about more in detail later. But I just want to check with General Counsel about one thing. I would like the wording of my apology actually inserted into the minutes. Is that something that can be done? Okay, and then so with the other items, Risha, can you and I talk about it later? Because I know that you have transcripts. I don't have transcripts, but they're just different from my memory. Okay, thank you.
So to clarify for the records, we are going to approve the minutes as written and.
No, I don't think we are going to approve the minutes as written. If there are substantive changes that Director Chan is going to suggest, then I think that all of us need to see those changes prior to approving them. So we'll hold over the approval of the minutes from the last meeting to our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion for items 2 through 12?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Confirming that Director Gomez was the second? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, moving on to determination discussion.
Yes, I am excited to bring to you the appointment of our Manager of Security and Emergency Preparedness. Stephen Bonini grew up and attended high school in West Contra Costa County and spent 23 years with the El Cerrito Police Department. He then worked for Williams-Sonoma as their Senior Manager of Corporate Security, and most recently, he was the head of Corporate and Executive Security for Prologis. Steve has a bachelor's degree in organizational management and a master's degree in administrative leadership. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, President Young, for consideration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Master's degree in
Whoops.
administrative leadership.
Oh, you know what happened? I'm
that-
calling up the, I was just gonna pull up the meeting notes and it went to the Zoom. Are you seconding, Andy? Okay. Moved by Director Chan, seconded by Director Katz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, unanimously approving. Would you like to come forward and tell us why you're looking forward to working here?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to take a few moments to say thank you for the opportunity. Being a West County resident for most of my life, it's important for me to give back a little bit to the communities where I grew up, where I had some ties. And I found that EBMUD was one of those ways in which I could give back in a slightly different way. I've been one that's been part of public service for a long time, so it interests me. I like dealing with people, handling situations that may come up that we have an answer to based on some expertise in specific areas, and I look forward to the opportunity and the challenge of coming to EBMUD. And like I said, it's a way that I know I can give back to the community that gave so much to me growing up and part of my adult life. So thank you.
Great. Well, welcome to EBMUD.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, Robbie Hannay, our Treasury Manager, will present our plan to issue revenue bonds for the water and wastewater systems. The issuance will be used to fund our capital improvements for the two systems, as well as refund bonds for debt service savings. As Director Lewis noted, this item was discussed at the Finance Administration Committee meeting this morning, and the committee unanimously supported staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So, yes, as we talked about this morning in the Finance Committee, we're issuing both water and wastewater bonds this fiscal year. So it's two items, 14.1 and 14.2. And I'll start with the water plan of finance. We plan to issue $275 million in what we call new money bonds. So bonds issued adding to our debt, but to pay for our capital plan. We're also planning to refund about $530 million in bonds outstanding on the water side for debt service savings. And then if possible, we plan to refund $400 million of our Build America bonds as a form of de-risking. We've got a slide on each of these to explain a little further. Okay? Feel free to stop me at any time with questions. So the wastewater plan of finance looks very similar, but the numbers are all smaller. We're issuing $30 million in new money bonds for capital on wastewater. We hope to refund about $55 million in bonds for debt service savings, and then again, if possible, refund $150 million in Build America bonds as part of a de-risking. So on the new money bonds, for a long time, we've been a leader in issuing green bonds. We've been doing it since 2015. We plan to issue the 2025 bonds, the new money bonds, as green bonds for both systems. Green bond, just as a reminder, green bonds are bonds that are issued for environmentally beneficial projects. And to pick those projects, we apply our guidance for issuing green bonds, which was adopted by the board last adopted in 2022. The original guidance was adopted in 2015. And trying to think if there's, I was going to just mention that most of the projects that we do would qualify for green bonds. This is still a subset of those. So we apply this criteria to pick which projects to fund with green bonds. Okay, our refundings, the first set of refundings are pretty straightforward. We've done this many times. It's where we issue new bonds for debt service savings. So we issue refunding bonds that then take out these bonds that are outstanding. The idea being that the new bonds have a lower debt service cost, and so you achieve debt service savings. We will make a determination when it gets to pricing whether or not to issue these, as long as we can get at least 3% of savings, meaning the net present value of our annual savings needs to be at least 3% of the amount that we're refunding. And in today's market, we're well above this, so we're pretty sure we'll be able to do this refunding for savings. Okay. And then the slightly more complicated one, at least to explain, is the de-risking. And I've got 2 slides on it, so a lot of the details are in the next slide. But we are planning to refund our Build America, well, we would like to refund, if the markets cooperate, our Build America bonds. Our savings threshold is to it be not negative, so at least $0, and I'll talk about that in a second. In fact, I'll go right to it. I know people this morning already heard this, but I'll give the quick history of Build America bonds. We issued them in 2010. They're commonly known as BABs. In our industry, we call them BABs all the time. They were authorized under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act during the Great Recession, and that was back during the shovel-ready days, if you remember those. It was to help spur agencies like us to issue bonds and do projects. And they work like this. Instead of issuing, when we did the BABs, instead of issuing tax-exempt bonds, we issued taxable bonds and taxable BABs, so we paid a higher interest rate, but the federal government pays us the idea was that they're gonna pay us a 35% subsidy on our interest. So we issue taxable bonds at a higher rate than we would have had we done tax-exempt, but we get a 35% payment subsidy from the federal government. And the net result was supposed to be a lower borrowing cost compared to if we'd just done tax-exempt bonds. The issue was that not too long thereafter, in 2013, under something called federal sequestration, the BAB subsidies were actually reduced by a little over 8%. And they've been reduced they've been below their full 35% every year. It doesn't appear that they're gonna go back to their 35%. So that I think people felt burned when that happened, but it's a little bit, the risk is worse than that. At any time, there's the chance that the subsidy could be cut further. And then in fact, the subsidy is sometimes discussed in being cut to zero altogether, to be taken to zero as part of various federal cost-cutting measures. So there's this risk that that this money that comes in twice a year that's supposed to be a subsidy for our interest could get cut further than it already has or even disappear. And so that's why this is called a de-risking. Under the de-risking, we would issue tax-exempt bonds, and those tax-exempt bonds would pay off these taxable BABs. We would only do it if this is without a cost on a net present value basis. So it has to be at least $0 in savings. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. We had a good discussion on it this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this refunding. Okay. So this is about at the end. Oh, I wanted to give the good news about the ratings, which thank you for mentioning earlier. I don't know why. That's the fun part. So our ratings are very high, and we got word yesterday from both rating agencies, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, that they're affirming our ratings and keeping our outlooks stable. There have been some rating actions lately for agencies in California. There's been a downgrade. There's been some negative outlooks. Ours were all affirmed at their current ratings with a stable outlook. For water, that's AAA from Moody's, AAA from Standard & Poor's as the highest ratings. And for the wastewater, it's AAA from Standard & Poor's, AA1 from Moody's, which is just one notch off of the highest rating. So that was great news. And that, of course, just helps us in the bond sale. It's those ratings are attached to the bonds that we're going to sell. And we were excited to get that news. So the actions here are to authorize this bond sale, and it's with these parameters here, an aggregate not to exceed amount on the principal. This is the water one, and the next slide is the wastewater one. It's with a certain parameters, a certain true interest cost under negotiated sale, and so the resolution is in your packet and the bond documents. the resolution is very similar for the two systems. So there's one for the water system and all the bonds associated with that, and there's one for the wastewater system. And that is about all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions on this.
Okay. The committee approved the recommendation action unanimously. I just, on the ratings, would add that, I mean, I know for certain that one of the agencies that got downgraded was LADWP. So as our closest, agency similar to ours, at least on the water side, due to the fires in LA, I think we should all feel great about, sorry for them, great for us, about maintaining that high standard, in large part, I think, due to all of the efforts we made following our own firestorm back in the late 90s. Questions from the board? Director Chan and Director Gomez?
Do you want to go first?
I really just want to appreciate that one of the reasons I believe that they decided to hold things where they are is because we have done such a good job of explaining what it is, how prepared we are for fire safety and fire events in particular. So I want to thank General Manager Chan for having done that explanation so well that they.
And the entire team, really, so.
Yeah, and thank the entire team, but good job.
Director Chan?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your work on this, and also General Manager Chan. This is really extremely important considering the uncertainty that we have in front of us. I feel really good that we're doing it right now, and we're being very proactive about funding these capital projects. So I just have one question about the bond market volatility.
Okay.
And so if the Chinese government decided to sell off their bonds, would that affect the rate that we hope to be paying the bonds as they're issued?
And we actually have we have someone here from Wells Fargo, so I could with one of our underwriters. So I add to this but in general, so we issue municipal bonds.
Right.
You're probably talking about our treasury bonds,
Right.
but the markets they're linked.
Right.
A lot of buyers are deciding they accept a lower interest rate on municipal bonds, all else equal, because they're tax exempt. But when taxable rates go up, municipal rates often do too. Rates have gone up recently. They've gone up since April 2nd, since the tariff announcements. So it is a tougher environment. Anything that would create volatility in the treasury market, like you're describing, would create volatility in our market too. Anything that raises the treasury rates would likely raise ours too. They're not perfectly in sync, but they're relatively in sync. And so yeah, it's a risk. It's a more volatile bond market right now, and at the same time, we're seeing good rates. We've got the AAA rating, which helps us. So,
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully we're planning our first bond sale would be on May 1st, and so not that many days away. Hopefully,
Oh,
anything
yeah.
big between now.
Well,
and
that's
then.
good news.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys discussed a ceiling, like if bonds get beyond it, if we're gonna have to pay more than this particular rate, that this isn't worth it for us to do, or is that?
There's a few things.
I mean, there's a lot of nightmare scenarios going
Yeah.
on in the economy right now, so that's why I'm asking.
In the resolution that you all would be passing, there is a maximum of 5.75%. Now, we don't expect to get anywhere near there. We're in the below mid-4s now. So now, there are cases where if it's a really volatile day, like you could decide, well, we're not going to sell today. We're going to wait a week or wait a day. And so now you try to pick a day to price when there shouldn't be. There's certain days where you know information's going to come out there, like CPI is released or something, and the market can move a lot. So you don't borrow on those days because you don't want the uncertainty. So we've picked days for both systems, 2 different days that we think should be stable. But you never know, and with enough information, you could decide to delay it or
Hold back.
or whatever. Yeah, but that would be unusual. That would have to be something pretty big.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate your answers.
Director Odie and Director Lewis?
I can go second.
Oh, I was just going to comment on behalf of the Finance Committee that there was actually discussion, and we went over a number of the parameters that are built into the bond assumptions. And if certain things happen or don't happen, or over a certain period of time, it would be coming back to the board.
Yeah, maybe it's worth, one thing that got talked about a lot, so I'll mention here, the thing that's most fragile is the BABS refunding. And actually today, you wouldn't be able to do it with a $0, with no savings. So if we were borrowing today, we wouldn't do it. But that market's changing all the time. It's a complicated market. Whether or not you can do the BABS refunding has to do with the relationship between taxable and tax-exempt rates. I could spend half an hour talking about it, but in general, so it could be the case that we do. The most important thing is the new money bonds. That's what's funding our capital plan. That's been our plan all year. It's in the budget. That we need to do. It could be the case that a month later or a couple weeks later, that BABS refunding becomes possible and we do another bond issue. This sets the parameters, and it only goes for so long because eventually those bond documents need to be updated and we would need to come back to you. So for a certain period of time, and we'll come back and let you know how it all goes. But that got talked about a lot about this morning. It's interesting. So there's that one piece that today you couldn't do, 2 months ago you could do, a month from now you might be able to do. So this authorizes to be able to do it within the parameters that's in the resolution.
So I was going to ask the question about the timing of the BAB, so thanks to our committee chair for bringing that up. And then the second point, I know the answer, but it'd be nice to hear it. In the budget meetings, we talked about being debt-free on the water side. I mean, will these bonds impact that target?
Well, debt-free as
according to the schedule we had in the budget.
It's, what we had talked about.
I know the answer, but I just want public to hear it.
Not debt-free, but if we go with a plan by year 9 of, we won't be borrowing any new money.
That's okay.
Right. There'll still be a lot of debt there, but then we're on a path to paying it down or whatever. Okay. We're always on a path to paying it down. We're paying down debt every year.
Just want to make sure it's clear that this is not going to impact that plan.
This number is the $275 million. Everything else we do reduces kind of debt service. The funding reduces it, or the BABS doesn't add to it. So the $275 million and the $30 million on wastewater is in that plan. So it's following that plan. So nothing about this.
So it's fair to say we're still on target.
We're on target for that plan. It isn't, I wish it was debt-free in 9 years.
I misspoke, so on target.
Yeah, okay. But it's on the water side. It is projecting, and the law can change in the next 9 years, but like it is in that plan, we're not needing to issue new money bonds. On wastewater, we still are. There's a bigger capital plan relative to the size of that system, so that one has bond issues all the way out through year 10, but still with an eye for not growing, being careful how much debt we grow. I would say we've really been paying attention to trying to be judicious on our use of debt.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion on the
Do we have to
water
do
side.
separate 14.1 and 14.2? So a motion for 14.1?
A motion on the water side.
Second.
Moved by Director Odie, seconded by Director Chan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Passes unanimously. I forgot to take public comment. Is there anybody who would like to make public comment?
No online
Okay.
public comment.
14.2.
I'd like to move for the 2025 wastewater system revenue bonds. I think we had to do them separately.
Director Lewis's motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes unanimously. On to item 15.
Thank you, Robbie. Yeah, next.
Thanks, Robbie.
And thank you, Jackie, too. She's kind of sitting in the corner right there, but, she's kind of behind the scenes doing a lot of the work, so.
Thank you.
And we hope they had fun.
Robbie does it with a smile on his face. Next is our annual water supply availability and deficiency report. This report evaluates the adequacy of our water supplies based on our current and projected water supply and demand. It's the board policy to prepare and report on our water supply in April of each year, and we have Associate Civil Engineer Ginger Chen to provide the update.
Thank you, Clifford, for the introduction. Good afternoon, President Young and members of the board. I'm here to present the Water Supply Availability Deficiency Report, which I'll refer to as WSADR from here on. The purpose of the WSADR is to assess district's current and forecasted water supply availability, and if necessary, provide guidance for the board's consideration to take potential drought response actions following district's water shortage contingency plan. In years when water supply is sufficient, the WSADR provides the basis for the board's determination of additional available water for potential use by others. So today's presentation provides an update on current status of district's water demands, current supplies, flow obligations, and recommended actions. So we'll start with the status of district's demands and production. So this chart will look familiar to you. The red line represents current fiscal year water production. The green is last year's data, and the blue or purple is the average from about 2 decades ago. Looking at the red line, you'll see a jump in demands the first part of April. This is due to the warmer weather patterns around that time, and I checked the data yesterday that we do have a little bit of a drop in our current usage. Okay, next we're going to be looking at water supplies. Here's precipitation for local and upcountry. On the left, you have East Bay, and on the right, you have McCollum. The bars represent the monthly averages, and rainfall is colored in blue. So through April 14th, we have East Bay precipitation at 68% of average, and McCollum at 81% of average. You'll notice that for the month of March, there's a difference between East Bay and McCollum. McCollum is situated at a higher elevation in a mountainous region, so it received more rainfall during that period compared to East Bay, located at a lower elevation, where it received less rainfall. Okay, as for snowpack, the figure on the left shows the snow water equivalent for statewide average is at 86%, and we are looking at the Central Sierra and trailing at 82% of normal. Looking at the right, we have the figure for Cable's Lake snow depth. It's at about 63 inches or 106% of average. Okay, now we turn to districts' end of season storage. The table on the left shows our total system volume for upcountry and East Bay terminal reservoirs. Our total storage through April 14th is 655,000 acre feet. And we look at the chart on the right, it is the projected, looking ahead projections storage. So the black solid line is the actual total system storage, and the colored dotted lines are forecast or projections. So our storage is forecasted to be full at 630,000 acre feet by end of the water year, which is September 30th, 2025. And it's for the median and wet conditions. And for the dry condition, we'll have 605,000 acre feet in our storage. So in all scenarios, the forecasted storage will be above the drought trigger of 475,000 acre feet. Okay, and then we are going to move to looking at our flow obligations. Okay, so these are the district's water supply flow commitments for 2025. The release schedule from Comanche Reservoir for fishery flows will be based on the below normal year type. The year type is based on DWR's April 1st Bulletin 120 forecast. And as covered already, the end of September total system storage and will be full at 630,000 acre feet. So Woodbridge Irrigation District will receive their base supply of 60,000 acre feet. Jackson Valley Irrigation District will receive their allotment of 3,850 acre feet, and North San Joaquin, a junior water right holder, will not receive any supply this year, and there's no surplus water available based on current projections.
Question, does
Yeah.
that also apply to, for North San Joaquin, does that also apply to water that we might put into the DREAM project, or we wouldn't put any water into DREAM?
Yes, same.
Same, so we're not putting water into DREAM this year?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So staff recommends that the board will consider taking the following actions. Sorry. Staff will recommend the board consider taking the following actions. File the water supply availability deficiency report and declare the district's water supply is sufficient for meeting customer demands in 2025. Okay. This concludes my report.
Comments or questions from board members? Comments from the general public? Okay. I have one question that's not related, I'm totally fine with approving this report. I guess my question is, when we are in a situation where we're gonna be full, and we're gonna be, you know, sort of able to meet our settlement demands and et cetera, it's sort of, it is below normal, but, you know, we're okay. Is there a reason that we wouldn't put water into, or, you know, in thinking about the DREAM project, is there some reason not to store water when we can?
Good afternoon. Brad Ledesma, Manager of Water Resources Planning. The DREAM project is a pilot project and it's been completed. So we are working
I see.
towards developing a larger groundwater banking project. So eventually we'll have that opportunity.
Okay, so it's only because the project, the pilot is over.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I move that we file the water supply availability and deficiency report.
Moved by Director Lewis,
I'll second.
seconded by Director Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Adopted unanimously. Item
you.
16.
Thank you, Ginger. For our last item, Derek McDonald will lead the discussion on updates to policy 4.14. In your board packet, we include information on 11 other agencies and how they manage board member mileage reimbursement, reimbursement for conferences and travel, and then we also include the ticket prices for events in 2024 and 2025. Based on your feedback, we'll bring the updated policy to the Finance Administration Committee for review and then to the full board for adoption. Derek, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Clifford, and good afternoon, President Young and members of the board. Risha, will you be driving the slideshow? If I could have the first slide, please. So this first slide is just a brief overview of how we got here today and kind of outlines the progress of discussions over revisions to policy 4.14. We first started taking feedback on these policies as we were developing the governance manual. And based on the comments we received from individual board members, we brought a series of proposed revisions to the Finance Admin Committee and the board for discussion on March 25th. If I could have the next slide, please. And on March 25th, these were the key additional proposed edits that we brought to the board and the Finance Admin Committee for discussion. The first was to delete the mileage reimbursement for attending adjourned regular special and committee meetings of the board. Limiting reimbursement for board member attendance at conferences to one conference per year unless the director had the attendance of a director was necessary because the director had a role at the conference, serving on a joint powers authority or perhaps being a panel speaker at the conference. Adding to the policy a requirement that the secretary would provide the board with a list of a calendar of conferences and activities for the fiscal year that could require reimbursable lodging or other expenses, and then having each director notify the secretary with a written forecast of the director's planned event attendance for the fiscal year. And that was really for just budget planning purposes. Adding languages regarding a director's ability to use district pool vehicles for district-related travel, clarifying language regarding travel cancellations not being reported in time resulting in expense to the district, and clarifying that a director may be responsible for reimbursing the district for any non-refundable costs that the district would bear. And then increasing the board president pre-approval expense cap from $100 to $250 to account for inflation. Next slide, please. So these are the proposals that we discussed at both the Finance and Admin Committee and at the regular board meeting on March 25th. And we received additional feedback from all of you at those two meetings. And so as it stands, today we are bringing to you these proposed changes. We would delete mileage reimbursement for directors attending regular, adjourned, regular, special, and committee meetings only at the main administration building. We would apply a good cause language for board resolution 35000-15 to travel cancellations. Remove the one conference per year reimbursement limit that was approved, that was suggested, and instead utilize language under which conference reimbursements will be approved based on the overall budget for an individual member's attendance during the year. And then also to keep the board president pre-approval expense cap to change that from $100 to $250 to account for inflation. And I should note that as we discuss these items, the board requested additional information that we provide conference policies and individual budgets, information from other water agencies, and also that we provide you with a sense of ticket pricing to support increasing the pre-approval expense cap to $250. And I know that Risha has gathered that information and she's included it in your board packet along with the redlined version of the of policy 4.14. And so with that, just looking at these 4 items in bold, those are kind of the items for discussion today at today's meeting. And we would request your feedback, and we'll make further changes accordingly based on that feedback and bring back the policy for final approval at a future board meeting.
Maybe I'll go first. That's okay.
No, I didn't see anybody else.
Okay. Okay, the first item, delete mileage reimbursement for directors. I think I'm going to be a minority on this, but I also will point out that I travel farther than many of the people on this board. And, you know, we're basically talking about $100 a month. I mean, I just feel that this is something that, you know, that we should be able to allow people who live, because there are some of us that come from farther away, and while it's easy for me to absorb something like the mileage, I don't know who's going to be in the seat after me, and I really feel like I don't want to disadvantage anybody that's could be driving from Richmond or could be driving from Tri-Valley or where I am, and to me, it just seems completely unnecessary for us to take this away from somebody. So anyway, and then I have no problems with the good cause language. I think that it makes sense to remove the one conference per year reimbursement limit and approve conference reimbursements based on budget, because we each get our own individual budget, which I understand is around $6,000 a person. And I like item number 4, increase the board president's pre-approval expense cap. So I'm fine with that. Another thing I would say about the delete mileage reimbursement for directors, I think we should put language in there that specifies whether or not carpool, we would derive the same benefits that employees get regarding carpool and public transportation.
Madam President.
Director, I have Director Lewis, Director Katz, Director Gomez, Director Odie.
So I just wanted to share feedback from the Finance Administration Committee on the issue regarding mileage. And just say, nothing directed toward any individual. We just noted that our employees do not receive any additional funding for reporting to their place of work. and that we viewed this office, the administration building, as our place of work, and that was the basis upon which the recommendation was made.
I know.
Director Katz?
Yeah, I'll respond to the mileage issue and then confirm agreement with the rest of the direction on the policy, and then I'll make some technical comments about the conference and budget. So on the mileage reimbursement for attending board meetings, while I personally have not sought reimbursement for attending a board meeting in the supermajority of the years that I've served, might have done it a few times early on and then decided it wasn't the practice that I felt was appropriate based on the majority of the Finance Committee. I do feel like it should still be available to board members, and that's based on my general understanding of how comparable agencies reimburse their governing body board members. I could be corrected if there were other policies that we were comparing, but based on a prevailing trend and my assessment that the primary place of business, the workstation, I think is day to day in our local wards, in our local communities. And so that's the main, those are the main reasons why I think we would still maintain the reimbursement to be available. I've personally made a different decision to abstain from it. But would if we're counting, how we are leaning, that's the way I'm leaning, and would support a modification. On the budget and conference, I like the direction that this is going in, but I think that the way the policy has been written, and I'm looking at page 668 of our packet, the bullet point that's the second one highlighted, that's where the language is. I think it just ends up getting written a little strict. And the reason for that is, right now we have a budget that really is sized to fit recent trends, which is kind of informed by a post-pandemic era where travel has been very low compared to past years. And we're basically sharing a pooled budget. And so we could approach this in a couple different directions. So either we go with an allotted individual budget, but I think that would mean we would need to, over time, increase the budget, because I don't think a per director budget of $3,000 is going to be adequate. I don't necessarily think that we should expect, I really wouldn't want to see, every director spending every year, a budget along the lines of what AC Transit is doing, $10,000. I think that's not going to be necessary. But I don't want to see a director, cut off, because that of just the circumstances of what conferences make sense for that individual director, that director's education needs or community participation goals. I think those. I lean towards flexibility and access to training and participation. We're relying on the board president to keep things reasonable and consistent with the district's mission. So either we could correct this in a couple different types of ways. One way would be to just, as a board, direct that we would expect a larger per director budget. That's one option. Or another option would be to build in flexibility, further flexibility into this bullet point that would build in the concepts of our prior informal practice of available funds within the pooled budget, as opposed to strict allotted travel budget, still maintaining a general principle of equity amongst the directors. So, I'm just raising kind of the nitty-gritty of what happens when we reduce it to the writing, because the way I read it right now, the president doesn't have a lot of discretion. It's sort of when a very tight budget is out, and that's it. So, either we could
provide the adequate room in the budget or give the president more flexibility based on a wider range of factors like the state of the pooled budget, that director's recent utilization in prior years, things like that. And I wouldn't want to see it bound by the enumerated factors. I'd want to see the president have reasonable discretion. Those are my thoughts about, I don't have a strong preference about which direction to go in. I suppose I prefer the second one, just because I'm really not intending to have a large budget size for this, but if it's just too complicated to go in the direction that I articulated, I would fall back on the size of the budget. Over.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what you proposed or said you wanted, but we'll go on to Director Gomez.
Yes, so with regards to the mileage reimbursement, I'm probably the director that travels the furthest time, like 56 miles round trip. So while I can personally not take reimbursement and just sort of contribute that toward my service on the board, I agree with Director Katz that it would be nice to maintain it as an option in case directors choose to use that as a reimbursement. I also agree with the good clause application to travel cancellations for local events. I don't have a problem with increasing the board president approval from 100 to 250. And regarding the overall budget per person per year, I kind of like the idea that we would have a board budget that we would all abide, that we would be given, and we would work to stay within that budget. That would be my preference. And it's like, I think what was allotted for this year, correct me if I'm wrong, is like $6,500 per director.
$6,250 per director, but I mean, just, it's also pooled, and I think the policy tries to address that by saying that the board president has a discretion to, approve board members' expenses in excess of their budget, allotted budget for the fiscal year. I mean, it's the way the policy is written, the president has that discretion. But it's $6,250.
So in general, I agree with what is being proposed for that.
Dr. Odie?
Thank you. I think I'm going to echo the comments of my colleague, our chair, Director Lewis. When we discussed this at the committee, the idea was we don't give any employee reimbursement for mileage to come to their job. And, good, bad, or indifferent, this is our job. We do get compensation for it. So, I mean, if we were doing this purely voluntary, or when I was on city council in Alameda, we got $50 a meeting, which is basically voluntary. I could understand, having some type of expense reimbursement, but then I kind of want to look back and say, and again, I don't want to cast dispersions on any of my colleagues, but, to me, this is a public service. We're doing this to represent our constituents, to represent our ratepayers. And, to say that I think I should be entitled to this or that, I mean, the world is mourning the loss of probably one of the most humble international figures today and yesterday, someone who eschewed living in an opulent apartment, someone who took public transportation rather than, be chauffeured around, someone who, ditched the ceremony of office. I think, especially as the economy is tough, as elected officials, we should probably set a similar example and not feel like we should be entitled to X, Y, and Z when we're not giving that to any other employee. The general manager does not get mileage reimbursement, the general counsel, none of the folks out here come to the office every day and get mileage reimbursement. And I think for us to set that example as a board of directors, I think is a good example to set. So, I understand folks that come a longer way. Maybe I'm not the best messenger because I probably live closer than anybody else. And now,
Not me.
okay, well, I just
Sure, I
moved,
lived closer.
moved a little bit closer. If there's some insistence on, if you're over 50 miles, maybe we put a minimum cap on it, I don't know. And then I know there was some discussion by the board president on the expense cap that, you know, I don't want to misrepresent, but I thought you thought 250 was a little high, given 188 is the average. You know, if we wanted to maybe split the difference and move that to 200 or 175, you know, I'd be fine with that too. But I just think we need to set an example as board members that, you know, we should be frugal, especially when we're asking our ratepayers to pay money, when we're asking our bargaining units, you know, to accept a contract, when we're, you know, adopting a budget that's also frugal. I think, you know, we can set a good example. And the amount is de minimis, but again, it's a good example to set.
For the most part, ditto Director Odie. I will take into account that each of us have to live within our ward in order to serve. We have staff who, for whatever reason, even though we pay pretty doggone well, it's hard to find housing within our distribution area. And some of them don't even live within the distribution area. So when it comes down to just going to work, like showing up here at the office, I don't see a good reason for that particular expense. But anytime we're going somewhere else, and there will be plenty of times when we will be going other places, that we can get reimbursed on that. So as far as what we've seen ticket prices costing, they're usually a little bit over $100. So I'm willing to go whichever way the majority says for that. But because hopefully, eventually, each of us will get a chance to be board president, and we'll get to learn all the burden of doing that budget. So that's all I have for that right now. Thank you for your work on this committee. Thank you so much.
I also concur that, you know, what it takes you to get to work isn't something that you get. I've never been reimbursed for what it costs me to get to work. I have bought commuter checks for taking the bus or, you know, riding a bike or, you know, something like that. And we do offer that to our full-time employees. However, it's for coming a certain number of days a month, and we're only here twice a month, sometimes 3 if we're, you know, on a JPA or retirement board. And so I don't think it's a particular burden to ask people to get themselves to work. So I'm kind of in, you know, on the other hand, maybe I could imagine incorporating the mileage reimbursement into your total travel budget. That if you choose to get reimbursed for mileage, it's $1,000 off, you know, if your average commute costs you $100 a month, that $100 a month goes to, you know, your travel budget, your conference budget for the year. That might be a way to split the baby. And then those of us that don't take it, so that might be a way to go. I think that, I mean, I believe in the you know, in the policy and in the governance manual, we do stress the importance of board members being well-educated and well-informed about what they need to do to dispatch their duties as director. And so I don't have any problem with attending, you know, trainings and events that help facilitate that. I think what we're talking about are the expensive conferences, the ones that require a night, you know, require getting on an airplane, staying in a hotel, eating food that costs twice as much as it should. Those kinds of conferences, which I think some of them are appropriate to experience at least once. I went to one aqua conference, I have to admit, first and last. That there are, we happen to live in an area that has an abundance of opportunities to further our knowledge about the work that we do, and many of them, I think as our secretary, indicated, cost well less than a couple $100 to attend. I don't have any problem with a limit on that. I do think that if we set a $6,000, whatever we set as an individual director budget becomes what ends up getting spent over time, without regard for whether it does further that duty. And that's, I don't know, it's kind of one of the things, I mean, secrets out. I mean, the board president doesn't have that many more responsibilities than what you see here, and what there is more. But I mean, it's largely a ceremonial job, right? But helping to keep all of us accountable to each other and to the public that we serve is one of those duties. So, I'd prefer to keep I don't think I've disapproved any expense that's come across my desk, but I do like to know what people are doing with their time. And having that, I would expect the only time that the president would disapprove something is if somebody put in for something that was really, green fees, right? I'm not going to reimburse green fees just because you talked about water. Not that anybody here is going to be submitting for greens fees. Okay, well, I picked something I didn't think would be a problem, but. Oh, don't say pickleball, you might get Joey on your case there. No, so I would propose the 175 level that Director Odie proposed. And I don't know where that takes us to consensus. We could go item by item.
That might be helpful. Just maybe start with the mileage.
Those in favor of deleting the mileage reimbursement?
And maybe before you do, I'll just as what's in the packet and what other agencies. So we looked at 11 agencies. 8 of the 11 do not reimburse for mileage.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to say is that I don't know, did we also add in there how many agencies put their members in their retirement plan or pay for all of their health care and dependent health care and flexible spending accounts?
Do you know that, Risha?
We actually, so I have that data, because other agencies ask us for that information almost every year when they're doing compensation studies, so I can get that for you. It's probably about 5 to 7 other agencies. I can get that for you.
Okay, I mean, from my understanding, we're actually relatively well compensated for our positions compared to others that meet as often as we do.
Sorry, there was a question from Director Lewis.
Oh, I was just wondering if mileage reimbursement was something that was reimbursement from your campaign account, or I assume you can also make the deduction from a tax standpoint.
I don't know.
Question to ask your campaign's lawyer.
All righty then.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a campaign, it's not we don't have office holder accounts, so it would have to be
So it's purely off your taxes, but we have to ask a tax lawyer, right?
Unreimbursed employee expense.
Yeah, well, your employment.
Okay, so can we go back to bullet 1?
Yes.
Yes. How many are those be in favor of deleting the mileage reimbursement for directors?
Do you want to add the clause about including it in the? Or is that a
We'll
separate?
take that as a third option, but you can vote more than once.
Uh-oh.
No, because I'm in favor of deleting the mileage reimbursement, but I would compromise at including it in the travel budget.
Is that a motion you're making?
She said she could.
I think we're polling.
We're polling, we're
We're
not,
polling, we're not.
I have one more comment on that issue. I did look at the chart in our appendix here. And I see that, the prevailing trend on these agencies is that they don't reimburse, but the regional agencies like BART, AC, the ones that cover a wider territory, like Contra Costa Water District, BART, AC Transit, they do reimburse.
They give you a ticket.
And the ones that are the special districts that are more local don't. I find that, we are more like the larger regional agencies.
Well, like I said, we're doing a sense of the group, so in favor of deleting the mileage reimbursement. Okay, so we have a slim majority willing to include the mileage reimbursement in the overall travel budget.
Can I vote more than once?
I said that.
She said
Okay.
you could.
But if we had, we don't need to do the delete mileage reimbursement and keep the mileage reimbursement. We had 4 people in favor of deleting it, and that means there's 3 people in favor of not deleting it, and
So,
we have a majority of members who would be okay including it as part of the overall travel allowance for directors as a compromise.
And so we had 4, based on the poll, we had 4 for including the mileage reimbursement in the overall travel.
I thought I saw more hands than 4.
More than that, 1, 2, I think everybody was in,
No, I
no,
wasn't.
Director Lewis is not in favor of that.
And
Just to be
it's not that
clear,
I'm
I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna fall on my sword over it.
Right, I'm not, it's not that I'm not in favor, I'm just not so sure if in fact you can also apply because you're over your budget. I'm just wondering, does it start to get a slippery slope? That was the only reason.
I'm not gonna, somebody's submitting all of their mileage and they go over their budget, they're not gonna get approved for that second conference or 4th conference or whatever it is. I would not approve that.
Can I just make a clarifying point about how we've been doing this and how the budget for $6,250 came about? Is because the mileage reimbursement was included in that budget. The mileage reimbursement for traveling to community events, to the Alameda Mayor's conferences, the mileage traveling to and from home to this building, that's built into that budget. And so if you look at the chart, the current budget for the board is broken, it's broken out. And I'm just including that information because when you say included, that
It
was
already
already
is
included.
included.
Yes, in the
It's already included.
$6,250.
Of how we
Everything
did
other
it in
than
the,
coming for regular meetings to this building.
yeah, how we did it in the past, based on the current policy, if somebody wanted to, that's the budget we draw from, is really.
I in my entire career, I've submitted, I believe, 2 expense reports.
Okay.
That weren't about taking a plane somewhere. So I intend to continue that, because I agree with Director Odie that, I signed up for this knowing that I was gonna be going out to community meetings and doing other things, and that in consideration of that I was gonna get paid something by EBMUD to take on that, along with getting fully paid health insurance and pension and everything else. It's quite generous for a part-time job, in my opinion.
So if I can just clarify what I understood based on the 2 votes that just took place, we will remove the entitlement to and reimbursement for travel to and from the main administration building, but board members may request reimbursement out of their overall budget for travel.
Well, it's basically maintaining the same policy as we have now. It's the budget that we use right now includes the mileage reimbursement that people get for coming to and from meetings, but as noted, a majority of the board currently does not and has not taken that reimbursement.
That's,
So, for whatever it's worth.
From a polling standpoint, it sounds like no change.
okay.
It sounds like no change. I might start taking mileage reimbursement to my regular trips to Orinda. Okay. The rest of it, I think, I would like to suggest that we reduce the expense cap to 175.
I would like to compromise. I'm not gonna fall on my sword about it, but just looking at the numbers and even the numbers presented to us, I would suggest the 200. But I'm not gonna die about it either, so. I just think at some point, I agree with all you said from, you know, the president and what, but I also believe that each of the directors is, you know, interested in doing what's best for their constituents and for East Bay MUD and able to make those determinations and not like use up all the president's time in asking for
It doesn't take that much time.
Well, I still would,
I mean, even at the $100, I'm telling you that I do not have to approve very many things.
oh, that's fine. I'm
It's
just
not,
saying,
it's really not a burden. I mean,
that's fine. I'm just offering my recommendation. And I think $200 would still be based on what the tickets are costing nowadays. That's just where I am over the 175. But my world is not gonna come to an end. That's my-
I'm sorry, how did we come up with 250 again, Risha? Did you take?
It came out of finance.
The finance committee thought it was the right number.
We thought it was the right number. That's
Oh,
all.
okay, so there was not, it's not based
It
on
was
any
based on
data?
looking at what we looked at recently, what tickets were costing. We made a recommendation.
Okay, what I
Ms.
was,
Cole did some additional work. That's how.
what I would ask is that the board president, if we remove it up to 250 or whatever we move it up to, that the board president receive a monthly report of board member expenses under the travel budget.
Yeah, and I think what we discussed is, we could do monthly. We were planning to do it quarterly, but we could do it monthly too.
So, okay, wait, so a quarterly report or a monthly report if we take 250?
It would just
No,
be,
for the
it
whole
would-
board, anything.
any expenses from the
Leave
board
it at
members.
250, whatever you want to do. I'm not gonna, I'd like to get to our closed session.
We could do a monthly report if you like, or quarterly.
Let's set it at 250 and see what happens. If the budget starts going wild and crazy, then, you know, we'll deal.
Okay.
Well, everybody agreed to do less than 250, Marguerite, so do the 175 or 200. I'm just saying,
just pick
200
one.
sounded rounder.
200,
200,
whatever,
200.
200's fine.
I think 200, yeah, okay.
Are you good with that?
I'm good. I want a monthly report. I want a monthly report. The next board president can do
Should we
what they
motion
want.
that, or-
Monthly reporter that you.
I can ask for it without a motion. I want a monthly report on
We'll do that.
board travel expenses by director with the detail about what they're doing.
So we won't make the monthly report requirement part of the policy, it will just be president to
No,
president.
it's what I want.
Okay,
The next board president can decide what they want.
okay.
Okay. So 200 is the number.
It's fine. Okay.
And then
The one
we were hearing on the conference reimbursement, the majority seemed to indicate that it should just be within the annual budget,
Yeah.
remain within the annual budget.
Yeah.
I took a stab at drafting what I was describing and some of the other directors.
You know what?
comments were helpful.
Was also the good cause, remember we added
I think we
that?
just agreed on
Good cause is
everything.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The only other thing was the good cause.
Moving on.
I don't think there was any question about it, but we didn't vote on it.
Okay.
And
So
so
now,
we're
so
basing
you'll bring this back to
conferences.
finance.
We'll bring it
and
back
then
to finance
have
with
it
an
on
update.
Consent or whatever. Okay.
If you have language, you can share. it with us.
Basing
I'll share
conferences
my
on
comments
budget.
with staff
We
for
are
the
basing the
Yeah,
conferences
if you have
on budget.
specific language to share with staff,
Yeah,
that's
please
fine.
share it with me. Okay, thank you for the feedback, and then at your places is the Speakers Bureau, and that's the end of my reports.
Okay. Other items for future consideration.
Are we doing director comment?
Yeah, that's next. Please submit those items for future consideration to myself and the general manager. Can you make that change, please, in the future? If somebody wants something on the agenda, I want to know about it also.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now go on to director comments. Well, I think we started at Joey's end of the room last time, so we'll start at Andy's end of the room this time.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm excited to meet with the Community Water Academy tomorrow in my ward, and appreciate the staff who put together so many different booths at the Earth Day Fair that we had at, in our second floor administration building. I don't have any events to report on here at the board meeting, but do want to express my appreciation for everyone who works to improve the health of our planet and the way we can all enjoy access and protect it. It's deeply troubling to see attacks on our environment and efforts to protect the earth coming out of Washington right now, and it just makes me very appreciative and thankful for our commitment here at the district to be aiming for carbon neutrality, aiming for being good stewards of our watershed, and all the values that we hold dear at the district.
Director Lewis?
I had the honor to attend the Community Water Academy, Day 3 at the main wastewater treatment plant in Oakland. It was fascinating. It was informative. I want to again comment on how impressed I am by the staff, and please help me call out the name of the woman who did the tour.
Zoe Lake.
Yeah, she was fabulous. If you weren't excited about wastewater and stinky stuff, you would have been by the time you left that, and it's and the academy class is phenomenal. Then I also wanted to stay with again, with all that's going on in the world, and also as a woman, professional woman, from a development standpoint, I hope people take note, and I am so proud of the fact that whether we agree or disagree, everybody up here is here to serve their community and the public, and whether we agree or disagree, we don't dislike each other's dog or each other, and I just wanted to compliment everyone on doing that. All organizations are not able, and we certainly are.
All right, so my quick comment is that I just wanted to congratulate my former boss, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, on winning the mayoral race in Oakland. And I'm very excited for her and all the things that I know that she can bring to the city. So it is an honor of a lifetime to have her name on my resume, given her stature and her reputation for ethics. So my captain, it's her ball. So super excited for her.
Okay, I had a few things going on. I met with the president of Local 21 for the first time. We hadn't had a chance to connect. And then this past Saturday, the Oakland Roots game had a special H2 Flow event, which Public Affairs, caps off, hats off, got to go down on the field and introduce it, and the Alphabet Rockers killed it, and it was just a really fun day. And then yesterday, I got to do what I'm going to try to do a whole lot more of, and just so that Kelly and team know, just let me know when I can go. I had the opportunity to present the water cycle to my granddaughter's TK class at Hoover Elementary School in Oakland. And I know all of us would love to get congratulated for the good things that we do a little bit more often instead of hearing about the things we're not doing. And so not the next day, but that afternoon, all of these thank you notes from the kids, and they were so engaged and so interested, and asked lots of great questions and couldn't believe that there are water pipes that people could stand in that deliver, our water across the delta. They were really interested in dams, which I didn't love so much personally, but the idea that piece of concrete could hold back all that water was really quite fascinating to them. And I think they learned a lot about water conservation. I think they learned a lot about, the water that we share with, the rest of the world. And so it was a great experience. And I hope that all of us can spend a little bit of time in our ward going around and talk to, did like 40 minutes. They were engaged the whole time. And at the end, we did the dance. So that was great. And then this Friday, Director Gomez and I will be attending the Friends of the River annual dinner that East Bay MUD is sponsoring. That's what I got.
Thank you. I only have one. Again, I was there with Director Lewis at the Community Water Academy, Day 3, over at the wastewater treatment plant. Again, I always enjoy it. This is my second time touring it, so I learn something new every time I go there. So third time, happy to go again. Again, the work that you do there, I try to make a point of calling out the project on the consent calendar because it's super critical that we make sure that that's seismically safe. I hope everyone on the Academy got up for the 7 o'clock trip on Friday up to the Party Dam and the fish hatchery. So I appreciate it again, Zoe and all the hard work that you guys do for the Water Academy.
Ditto on the Water Academy. I was able to welcome the group to the Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant. That was fantastic. Seems like we have a really great group. Since last meeting, I've attended the Alameda County Mayor's Conference and Exchange Club in Danville to introduce myself as East Bay MUD rep. I also attended 2 East Bay Leadership Council events. One was where Dan Walters provided an update on California issues, and that was online. And the other one where our very own general manager presented along with Professor Soga on the Center for Smart Infrastructure. If you don't know much about it, I encourage you to learn about it. It's fascinating how we are leading by being really innovative with our infrastructure. And then I also attended a town hall by Congressman DeSaulnier in Danville, learning about what Congress is doing or trying to do in the face of what's happening at the federal level. And I had a meeting with the new liaison from the city of Lafayette, Jim Cervantes, as kind of like getting to know each other as the new liaison for East Bay MUD. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Risha. Slower week for me, but on the 16th, did the East Bay Wildfire Coalition meeting in El Cerrito. It's amazing the presentation that we saw from PG&E and a few other folks had some things that they were talking about, home hardening and zero? Yeah, Zone Zero, that's it, thank you, Zone Zero. Very interesting. The chair, John Joya, took liberties of putting Mona on the hot seat, talking about East Bay MUD, and she handled it like a champ. What a superstar. And she's so humble. She says, well, this is what we get paid to do. But you make us look good. On the 18th, yes, I did get up and go and get on that bus at 7:30 in the morning for our Water Academy upcountry tour. We were Valley Springs, we're Pardee and McLean Hall, the Comanche Dam, McCullummy Fish Hatchery. It was great. As I said on the bus, our general manager, Clifford Chan, has a tendency to be a wonderful docent and an absolutely fabulous tour guide. And he definitely succeeded in that, but there were a lot of moving parts and a lot of folks who helped out. So Kelly, be proud of your team, okay? With Catherine and Christine, Mary, Michelle. If I missed anybody, I apologize, but you all were fantastic. I got a chance to talk with a few of the academy cohorts, and it was really interesting to hear the reasons why they said they decided to participate in the academy. And I felt really good about it. So thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it. And if we manage to get out in time, I have a spring mega chamber mixer and business expo this evening, and I'll give you more details at our next meeting.
And maybe Director Smith, I just want to acknowledge Roberto, Dylan, Tom Hardy, Professor Kayan, Tammy, who helped manage the lunch, everybody. So many people made that happen.
Okay, thank you, Clifford.
Okay, well, with that, on this 55th Earth Day, maybe the most significant Earth Day since the first one, given what's at stake, we are adjourned.